What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create stronger impact with your brand, specifically understanding your ideal clients and how to profile your ideal clients so that you can get more qualified customers in your sales pipeline and start working with the people that you truly want to work with. And again, making a stronger impact with your brand's identity, messaging, positioning, and everything underneath that actually is going to make all this happen. So without further ado, I want to introduce my man Awais back on the show. What's shaking, Awais?
What's going on, man? Midweek already.
I know this week is flying. So let's talk about today's topic, how to create an impactful brand by profiling your ideal clients. So one of the things that I noticed when working with clients at this level for so many years, this is how most business owners see their customers. This is the actual visual they have on who they're actually working with. Not too clear, is it? Not too clear. So what we need to do is we need to dial in the microscope and go deeper than just the silly demographics that people put together real quick. And then they say to themselves, I know my ideal customer. Do you? When somebody like me asks you, okay, so who's your ideal customer? Women from the ages 30 to 85. That's alarming. Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely. And I was going to ask you a question. So, when clients come to you that aren't necessarily as clear as they need to be on their ideal clients, what's typically happening to their business?
It's slowly deteriorating. I wrote an email about this morning. Like, there's an internal bleed going on in a lot of our businesses that we don't even know is happening. And if you do not pay attention to that internal bleed, it's going to turn into a really big problem sooner than later. So I'll give you a quick example. This is going to be somewhat of a silly example, but hear me out. I love this show on Disney Plus. It is called Dr. K's something or other. And basically, she's a veterinarian who treats exotic animals. We're talking potbelly pigs, opossums, hedgehogs, really expensive birds, crazy lizards, snakes, things like that. Right? And I'm mesmerized by this because I got to give it to Disney Plus. They don't sugarcoat this show. They don't just show all the happy endings that happen. They show the put downs just as much as they show the recoveries. So I'll give you a quick example. Lady walks in with 2 rats, right? I'm not a huge rat fan, but she raised these rats for like 2 years, right? And the one, after a while, started to show some deterioration, started to get lethargic, thought something was up. But for the most part, the rat looked healthy. So she let it go. Finally, it gets to the point where she's like, you know what? Something ain't right here. Let's take her to Dr. K. Takes the rat to Dr. K. Dr. K does an x-ray and says, this rat has a collapsed lung. And it's been collapsed for a while based on the x-ray. There is nothing I can do for this rat. So the owner says, so we're talking about a quality of life issue here, aren't we? Dr. K said, yeah. So they actually showed them putting the rat down. I mean, there's nothing about it. They basically give it a whole bunch of anesthesia and it goes to sleep. But I'm thinking and watching this show going, how many businesses are out there that think that they're doing okay, but they got this internal problem that is going to turn into a really big deal if they don't get it fixed?
Yeah.
And that's what sparked this conversation today, because I don't think a lot of people know their ideal clients as much as they should. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand. Listen, I'm constantly a work in progress around this topic myself. You think I know you guys as much as I should, as great as I should, as much as I should? No, I don't. And that's why I do these live streams, and I constantly study competitors and I constantly study the market, because I want to know today, not yesterday, not a month ago, not 6 months ago. I want to know today why you're hurting.
And to your point, Henry, those expectations are changing. Those expectations are constantly evolving. So who your ideal client was a year ago might completely change in terms of who they are today, as from a psychographic and from a behavioral standpoint.
Correct.
Right? From their expectations. So buyer expectations, I mean, again, fresh on our minds in 2020, what happened? As soon as COVID happened, people were, socially distanced, businesses were shutting down. And again, you had people relying more and more on the virtual marketplace to be able to conduct business. Those that weren't up to date, those that didn't necessarily invest into that type of a platform, were hurting, and they needed to invest a significant amount of money to catch up.
Yeah.
And so think about what happened between 2019 and 2020 that really pressured a lot of businesses to move in that particular direction.
Yeah. A lot of people got caught with their pants down.
Yeah.
And not a fun situation.
No.
So what questions should you be asking about your ideal client that's going to help you get a little bit more educated? So let's first start with strengths and weaknesses. What makes your customers successful, both professionally and personally? And what are their weaknesses? What constantly gets in their way? And how are they getting in their own way? Yeah. Very interesting. And it doesn't need to be business oriented all the time. I want you to start thinking about their personal lives, which I don't think we spend enough time on, quite frankly. Gary Vaynerchuk said something the other day, which really perked my ears up, because somebody asked him about like NFTs and why he dove so deeply into them. And he said, it validates my theory from a long time ago. I have a natural curiosity of why people buy. And what I've realized is the majority of this world want to communicate to everybody else in the world through what they buy. Through what they buy.
It's a good point.
There's a reason why people drive the BMW over the Honda Accord. There's a reason why people buy certain clothes and why other people are fine with Target, which, don't get me wrong, Target's got some great athletic wear. I get all my gym shit from Target, because it's quality stuff and it's not expensive, and I have it forever. But some people wouldn't be caught dead in Target clothes.
Yeah.
Right?
They want to make a statement.
They want to make a statement. So this is why we have to pay attention to their buying behavior, right? So what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? Once we can articulate why they're getting in their own way better than they can tell us, you're going to start getting more sales. I could guarantee it. Because Absolutely. They're just waiting for somebody to come along that understands them. So let's take it a step further. Let's talk about psychographics. Again, there's nothing wrong with understanding your demographics, but psychographics are way more important.
What makes them tick?
Exactly. So brand affinities. What kind of brands are they interested in? Are they a Nike person, or are they an Adidas person, or a Reebok person? Are they an Apple person or a Microsoft person? Again, do they shop at the premium stores, or do they look for more of the thrifty buys? We want to know. We want to know. What about their hobbies? Their interests? What do they like to do? What do they like to do? And why are they in business in the first place? Probably to leverage the income that they earn from that business so that they can do more of the stuff that they love to do.
Exactly.
So another big one. Now, what do they dream of becoming? What do they dream of becoming? Have you thought about that for your customer? I got to tell you, I want to use like an obscure example. Why would somebody use the most expensive plumber? Why?
They don't want their pipes to burst. Or if a pipe has burst or if there's a leak, they want that fixed as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. What about being embarrassed? Did you ever think of that? What about being embarrassed? What about having something happen where you hire somebody and they F up the whole job? What does that say about you? That you're a cheapskate? No, I'm just being devil's advocate here. But that you're a cheapskate and always looking for the cheapo way of solving things, and look what happened.
Or you just don't have the skill set to be able to vet.
Or that. Right? Now you look incompetent to your wife and your kids and your neighbors and your friends because you're at dinner and your wife comes up at a conversation and says, "Oh my God, you don't even know what my husband did this week when he hired the wrong plumber." And you don't even know she's going to say something like that, but she does. For the record, that has never happened to me ever in my life. Love you, Tor. But you get the point, right? You get the point. So understanding why they do certain things is so important. Peter has a good point here. Demographics were the old standard. Psychographic is the new standard. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. How about this? What are their hopes and fears? What do they fear losing the most? I want you to get specific with that. What do they fear losing the most? And what do they hope for? What do they aspire to be? Financially independent, more time on their hands, more time with family, more systematic approach inside of their business.
Yeah.
Higher quality customers. What are they hoping for? Super important. Super important.
Now, you can get a little further on this. You can get a little further on this and see how they communicate. And that's what, I mentioned this on a previous podcast, where there's a software out there called Crystal Knows. And so if you're trying to communicate with specific decision makers, they all have a specific personality profile that based off of that, and they're able to communicate a certain way. So if you're a direct communicator, you're not going to want a lengthy email and you're not going to read through that.
Mm.
Right? If you're super analytical, well, we're going to need to communicate to you in an entirely different manner.
Mm-hmm.
So those are also things that are now being incorporated in terms of how to craft your messaging specifically targeted towards a specific behavioral and communicator type.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris Voss has a whole profile on the different types of negotiators there.
Yeah.
There's the assertive, there's the analytical, and there's two more I can't that they're blanking on me. But yeah, how you negotiate is how well you negotiate with those people will be determined by how you can profile them
Absolutely
the best, right? And so that's very, very important. Now let's talk about customer journey. Let's talk about that. So we kind of shed some light on this in previous live streams, but I want to talk about customer journey here, for example, specifically the compelling event that happened in their lives that has them searching for somebody like you.
Yeah.
Okay. We recently had a flood in the house not too long ago. And we needed a plumber way before we thought we needed a plumber. Hence why we had the leak. Right? And luckily we were able to catch the problem before it devastated the house. But had we not had those issues, we would have never, ever needed a plumber. So my question to you guys is, what could a plumber do in their communication to their ideal clients or to their audience or to their neighborhood to get people scratching their head going, I didn't think of that. I better make that decision before it's too late. That's the framework that we need to start thinking about when communicating more effectively to our audience.
That's right.
All right. So I gave you the example. Flood, you need a plumber. But what about the things that show up that are a little bit less discreet? What are some of the things that show up that are a little less discreet? Where everybody thinks it's okay until ish hits the fan. That's your responsibility to find out. How did they find us? Did you ever get on a call with a prospect and get into the conversation and then forget to ask, wait, by the way, how the hell did you even find me in the first place? That information is gold. That information is gold. Now you know what.
I start my conversations like, what made you want to reach out to me? That kind of goes with your compelling event. But what made you want to reach out to me, and how do we connect?
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great way to ask that question.
Yeah, because now they're also in that mode of qualifying themselves into your offering.
Which you hit the nail on the head. What makes them engage, right?
Yeah.
What makes them come back? What makes them come back for more?
That's right.
Big question. Is it the quality of service? Is it the preventative maintenance? What makes them come back?
Yeah.
Here's a big one, though. What drives their decision making? What drives their decision making? Again, I hinted on this earlier in the show. Are they fearing the embarrassment? Do they want to show everybody that they're always 3 steps ahead of everybody else? What is it?
Yeah.
Peter says here, It should be on the contact form where they found you. Prevents forgetting to ask in the conversation, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a great conversation.
Yeah,
You can
that's
leave it
true.
open-ended in the contact form, or you can have a little drop-down menu too. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, email, word of mouth, things like that. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. And then at the end of the day, guys, what kind of goals are they trying to achieve? What kind of goals are they trying to achieve? I hear this more times than none on my brand assessment calls. I want more of a systematic process inside my business. Everything seems fragmented and loose. And every time a new lead comes in, I like scramble, or at least I feel like I'm scrambling to respond. That sucks. Because people are
Or
going
just
to
the communication scrambled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The communication is completely scrambled, and when they do respond.
Mm-hmm. And people feel that, man.
Yeah.
Your nonverbals are going to show that through. Your voice is going to show that through. The way you respond to questions and comments is going to show through. Very important. Now, what about the risks? What things are keeping them from achieving their goals? And you could break that down internally and externally. So what outside factors? Do they not have the tech? Do they not have the manpower? That's external. Internal? Do they not believe they can? Very simple example. If they don't believe it, forget it. And then what happens if they don't take action? Where lies the risk?
And those are important questions that you ask even during the call or during your face-to-face contact, whatever. So that's a very important question in terms of, hey, what's at stake for you over here? What if you make the wrong decision?
Very important. Lastly, solutions. Again, it sounds like we're beating a dead drum here, but how are they going to overcome these risks? And what's propelling them forward? I always talk about reasons. When you have strong reasons to believe, when you have strong reasons to execute, you're going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
And if you're very, very clear on the consequences, it's a whole nother story. I'll give you a quick example. So I'm working with a new coach. Today was call number 1. And she explained to me that she's going to keep me accountable for the next 90 days. We're going to meet every other week. So in between those calls, I have homework. Okay? But here's the specified promise. So every call I have to show her a specific promise that I'm trying to make to myself, maybe to even other people. All right? What is the consequence if I don't keep that promise? So I'll give you a quick example. We broke it down into a couple different categories. I'll give you one that's easy. I want to reach out to my friends more frequently without them having to reach out to me first. Always struggle with that as an adult. There would be weeks go by I haven't talked to my friends, and not that I don't care about them. I love them, but time goes by. I get distracted, whatever. Bunch of excuses. But I made a goal that once a week I will reach out to 3 friends, doesn't matter who, and ask them how they're doing. Now, what is the consequence if I don't? Here's what we said would be the consequence. I wouldn't be able to shave my head that day. Might sound crazy, but let's say I only called one person instead of 3 people. That means I can't shave my head for 2 days. You want to know what I look like when I don't shave my head for a half a day? I look like a complete imbecile. I actually look like a clown because my hair grows from the bottom and back first. So all this hair grows on the side and none grows on the top. Do you know how ridiculous I would look after 2 days? Imagine doing a live stream like this where I have almost a full head and my hair grows fast. Except for the top. That's why I'm bald. Can you imagine what I would look like? That's the consequence if I don't make those 3 calls that week. Yeah, you have a 5 o'clock shadow on your head, Pete says. Yeah. Yeah, and it looks terrible, by the way. But I'll be honest with you guys, not to get too personal here, but I've struggled with consequences in my life or the lack thereof. And it played out in different ways. So now being held accountable on such a close level with a consequence attached, you bet your ass I'm going to make those calls. So that's just one part. We have business part. Like I have to reach out to prior brand accelerator clients, 3 of them a week, just to check in, see how they're doing. If I don't do that, same thing. For everyone I don't do, a day goes by, I can't shave.
Wow.
It sounds ridiculous.
Intense.
But at least there's a consequence associated with the promise. That was an eye-opener for me. Because guess what, guys? If nobody's holding you accountable, who's running your life? The person on their A game or the person playing their C game? That's why I decided to get this coach, because I knew she wasn't going to tolerate my C game. So you, as the business owner, are responsible for communicating these consequences. It's not your customer. Some of them may not even know what their consequences are.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility. So that was a nice little life lesson I learned today about promising specifically to yourself or to other people what it is that you want, but labeling consequences if you don't do it. Give it a shot. Try it. Try it for yourself. Try it on yourself. If you're in business, start communicating your consequences, your customers' consequences more clearly.
Yeah.
And watch what happens. Watch what happens. So there you have it, guys. That's how you understand your customers on a deeper level. Now, get out there and start communicating with them. First, do your homework, then start your communication.
One thing I'll add to this conversation, you have existing clients. And if you have existing clients, that is a trove of knowledge. That is your best source of collecting as much intel or just collecting as much information as possible to know what makes your best clients tick. I was talking about this, like, who are your best clients and how are you going to find more of those clients? Ask your best clients, why is it that they decided to work with you? and work your way down. What was happening in their life before then? Why would they work with you again?
It's funny you say that, because that's one of the strategies that my team and I are working on. Over the past 4 or 5 years, I have hundreds of brand accelerator questionnaire intakes. I have dozens of brand assessment questionnaire intakes. Because when you book a brand assessment, you have to fill out a questionnaire before you get on the phone with me, right? There's so much gold in those intake forms. So we're making it a priority to go back into those questionnaires and to pick out the pain points, pick out the points that were emphasized over and over and over again. Look at the clients that moved forward. Look at the clients that didn't move forward. What were each of them saying?
Yeah, that is gold.
We're doing our own, I practice what I preach, guys. Yeah. I'm not a finger pointer. I'm a practitioner. So, think about that. Do you have a questionnaire or some sort of form that you have your customers filling out? When's the last time you went through a dozen of them to refresh why people hired you, why they didn't hire you? Gold. All right, guys. I said 30 minutes. We're a minute 52 over. I'm done. Don't forget to subscribe and continue watching us if you find value from these videos. Every Monday, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, we will be here. Last but not least, guys, if you need help getting more clarity, focus when it comes to your business, your brand, I'm talking efficiencies, revenues, awareness, book this brand assessment. It's going to help you find somebody, me, or if not me, I will guide you in the right direction to helping you get that information you need. Because if you keep doing the same thing you constantly are doing and you're not happy with the results, you're just going to get more of it. So have an amazing day. We'll catch you on the next one next week.